This is my code for the first project of the C programming applications. This is the code that's used to put the user's measurements into a histogram bins and display it. So the first part of my project, what I did was I used function prototypes right here, which is integer get number measurements and get measurement and update bin, which are supposed to be used for this project. So the next, and I also use the order functions like get another batch, which returns the user's answer, and also display the order function, which is display histogram. So first of all, I'm going to start with the first functions, which is the returns the validated number of measurements for a batch. As you can see right here, this is the block of code that is used to get the measurements for each batch that the user enters. It follows the exact instructions that were given in the project 1 questions. The next block of code is get measurement, which I use to get the measurements just to get the measurements for the minimum and maximum value. So once the user enters the minimum and maximum value, to follow the exact instructions which were given in the project 1 assignment. So the next one is the next block of code function is the character get another batch, which gives out the question to the user whether the person wants another batch or doesn't, and it also follows the same instructions as the other functions which were given in the project 1. So the next block of code is the code for the update bin, which was probably the hardest among all the codes, all the different parts of the code, which is that you take all the measurements for the user and put them into 5 separate bins. As you can see right here, it calculates the one bin range for the y-axis. So the next block of code is the code to display the histogram, which is it gets the minimum or maximum limit flights from the y-axis from the smallest number to the largest. And as you can see, this is the characters and the ASCII code that were used for the lines and the bars in the histogram. So the next part of the code is how I used to find the maximum bin value. That's the bin value that has the highest number of frequencies that the user puts in, which is maximum bin equals to bin 1, and if statement goes in, if bin 2 is greater than the maximum bin, then max bin is equals to bin 2, and so on and so forth. The next part is printing the lines for the y-axis and x-axis, which is right here. And the next one is for printing the x-axis and then the values, and then the values of the x-axis that the user puts in. And the last part of the function is used to print the bar. That's the border line. So if the value is greater than the upper limit or equals to, which is written right here in the code, it prints out the ASCII code 176, which is for the bars, or else it prints out a blank space. So I'll come back to the main code, which shows all the function calls and how the code progresses from the first phase all the way to the final phase of the project. Here I declared some variables right here I valid, minimum limit, max limit, bin 1, bin 2, bin 3, bin 4, bin 5, etc. So next I initialize the bins, the bin values, bin 1, bin 2, bin 3, bin 4, bin 5 to 0. Then the next thing I did was I used a do while loop for input validation. So when the user enters the maximum and minimum values, it tells them whether what they enter is actually the right values to use for the code or for what they're trying to display in the histogram. So next thing I did in the main was I got the data that's being taken from the function getNum measurements, which gets the measurements from the user for what the user puts in. So the second phase, which was to implement the histogram bins, which is right here, bin 1 equals to update bin 1 measurement 1 minimum limit max limit. This part takes all the measurements. It basically takes the measurements from the function get measurement and puts it into the bin 1, bin 2, bin 3, and bin 4 and bin 5 before it gets sorted. Before the bins get sorted out by the function. I've forgotten the function which it was, but that's what it does. It takes all the measurements from the user and puts them into separate bins, bin 1, bin 2, bin 3, and bin 4. So next part is the answer. That is, the person enters Y, which is for yes, it stands for yes. It prompts a window that asks the user to enter another new batch. So I did all this in a while loop while the answer is equal to yes. So in case the user wants multiple batches. And then once the bins have been sorted out, I print out the graph itself, which is the printf statement right here. Bin 1 equals to %d, bin 2 %d, etc. And then after that is to display the histogram, which is basically the function call of the display histogram function, which I already explained in the code. And that's about it. But the output for the code I displayed in another video because the compiler that I'm using won't actually run it. It just keeps on going circles and circles. So the output should be in another video.